My name is Wade Myers, and I am a semi-recent college grad in the accounting industry. So I graduated from Salisbury in December of 2017. That marked 4.5 years of school there. And upon graduation, I accepted a offer to go to one of the big four accounting firms. I majored in both accounting and finance in college, which kind of played into, my professional decision. So I spent about 2 years at KPMG, which is one of the big four accounting firms. And last September, I just recently moved to South River Mortgage, which is a smaller mortgage firm where I pretty much run an accounting department. We're currently looking to expand, but right now I'm the only person in the accounting department, which presents some additional challenges. But I went to Salisbury for 4.5 years. In the accounting industry, there's kind of three different paths you can go down, which include tax accounting, auditing, and then private industry. In just about all of these fields, a CPA license, which is a certified public accountant license, is required. There are certain lower level positions that you never have to achieve that if you never want to pursue it. And those are still very respectable positions, but in order to kind of grow all the way to the top of the industry, a CPA is required. So a CPA requires 150 college credits, which I know a lot of you are probably going to be looking to make that move in the next couple of years. So you typically cover about 30 college credits a year. So 150 credits typically ends up being 5 years of college. You certainly can accelerate that by taking more classes, or you can accelerate that by bringing some AP scores into college, which certainly is helpful. But once you have 150 credits, you can sit for the CPA exam. So the CPA exam has 4 different additional tests that you must take. And it certainly isn't the most prestigious, but it's one of the most prestigious post-college licenses that you can achieve just from the rigor and difficulty of the tests. So just giving you guys some background on that, moving to kind of some of the skills and things I've learned in my time outside of college and working. So my current company doesn't really provide training for me. It's kind of the skills that I've learned to this point. But one of the major benefits of starting at a big four firm was that I had a lot of the top of the line resources as far as training materials and other technical resources that I could go to. So 2.5 years at a big four firm, and I certainly was able to get a lot of very profound training from there, which I certainly brought with me to my current position. Some of the things that I want to touch on, though, that skills that I use, the top one is obviously technical accounting knowledge, but a lot of the most important skills I have now are soft skills that you guys can even start developing today. A lot of those include organization, being a self-starter, not having to have other people motivate you to, achieve tasks, and critical thinking. Now, I certainly remember being 16, and these are skills that I developed over time after being a 16-year-old, but just things for you guys to think about. And, as I sit here and reflect 10 years later, some of the most important skills that have gotten me to where I am today. So trying to look at some of the other prompts to go through. So another thing that is important to touch on, just as you guys move to college and come out of college, is some of the changes that have come in at least my industry since the pandemic last year. Hopefully, as everyone starts to get vaccinated this year, we can return to a normal again. But I think that we're going to see a lot in the professional world and maybe even college, a lot more hybrid work styles. My company currently, I work in the office every day, but we have a very small group of people. It's only about 20 of us in the office. My previous company, we were remote for the entirety of March 2019 to until I left, which was 9 months later, and I think they still are hybrid. And I think as we get back to a new normal, you guys, as you get into college and then enter the professional world, will see that a lot of these jobs that don't require hands-on presence and are done on the computer will have a lifestyle where you work 2 or 3 days in the office and 2 or 3 days remotely. That being said, I guess it's also important to touch on that a lot of the work I do in the accounting profession and similar finance professions are done mostly on the computer. I kind of remember when I first started thinking about going down this field, I wasn't really sure what that looked like in the actual professional setting, but I spent in most days just working on the computer. So one other thing that I want to touch on is kind of my path from high school to college. So I was sort of unique. I never really had the desire to go out of state. I grew up a Penn State football fan, so that was really the only school that I considered out of state. But I applied to all the major Maryland state schools, Maryland, UMBC, Salisbury, Towson. I actually started at UMBC for a year and wasn't really what I was looking for. So I came to Salisbury, which I grew up in Easton on the Eastern Shore. Don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's about 40 minutes over the Bay Bridge and about another hour through Easton to Salisbury. So what I found at Salisbury was that, the university population is about 9,000 undergrad, which sounds large, but in the grand scheme of, I think Maryland's 35, Towson's like 20. You get a smaller campus feel, but it also allows you enough students where, you find your groups, you don't see the same people every day. It certainly doesn't have, like a high school feeling, but from an academics perspective, at least in the field that I found or that I pursued, I found that, I was challenged academically. And then once I got to KPMG, my first job, we had a mix of Salisbury, Maryland, Towson students. And, we found that the academics that we were challenged with in Salisbury kind of led us to being more prepared, more prepared than some of the other schools had prepared those students. So I know Salisbury has other great programs, including nursing, education. So I definitely would endorse Salisbury 10 times out of 10.